Okay, now I've started and stopped so many things in my life, including this channel, very many times. I guess I don't really know the root of the reason why, but it's sometimes very hard for me to stick to things. And that could be like ADHD, ADD, lack of internal focus, lack of internal drive, anything. But the point is, and it all comes down to validation. No one is going to clap for you in the beginning, and that's just a fact. I think a reason why this is so prevalent is because I often ask myself, and maybe you do too, why can I not be consistent with things? Why can I? Even if I like something, I don't. I guess I just tend not to stick to it. Maybe even somewhat in people, but for this, we're just gonna mostly keep it in the realm of like things. We're not talking about not consistent with people. We're not consistent with things. And I came to the conclusion that it all just comes down to validation. Either the lack of it, the need for it, the absence of it. When you're starting something and you're not getting any kind of feedback, that's not good. In some cases, it's even worse than hate. Like radio silence can be worse than hate because at least hate gives you something like to fight against. At least, at least like if someone say, you can be like, oh, I'm gonna prove you wrong. I'm gonna do 10 times better than you even thought that I was gonna do. But silence gives you nothing. So if you do something alone, and this is why I'm a big proponent of community and still trying to find mine and just where I fit in the world, but silence gives you nothing. If you start something with a friend or even like an area you're familiar with, or if you're just gonna making friends, they praise you, they hype you up, like, and even if they're not saying anything positive, because you can say things that are positive that aren't always positive, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's to make you better, but it might not be what you want to hear. So constructive criticism, basically. No one's going to clap for you in the beginning, but you have to do it anyway. Why people quit at the beginning, I would say, is one of the things is definitely the fear of looking dumb. Nobody wants to go into something looking like the new guy, basically. I mean, and this probably goes back then farther than any of us can even imagine. No one wants to go back and be the person that seems like the outcast or the one who hasn't quite gotten it while the rest of the tribe is like dancing and chilling. You're like, oh, I don't know anything. I haven't been here long enough. I don't have the experience. I'm gonna touch on that later. Nobody wants to feel like the level 1 henchman. Everybody wants to be the level 36 mob boss, Nobody wants to start as a grunt. And I feel like that's a big reason why people quit things. When there isn't any instant validation, people tend to take that as a sign to quit. The ability to master delayed gratification will probably get you ahead of a lot of people, simply because most people thrive off the validation that they get instantly. I mean, me included. Of course, I'm not perfect. Like, you see how many like views this is or subscribers I have. Like, I'm clearly not perfect, but it is something that I want to work on. That's why you're watching this right now. This is a product of my journey in accepting delayed gratification, basically. Yeah, it's like, and I feel like the pitfall with most people would be, if you're not receiving the praise immediately, you feel like you're going to quit or give up or get discouraged and stop. That's what I found myself doing. Like, when I had started Muay Thai, I would go because people would be like, oh, you're big and you're strong, and I am big and strong, but they would like be gassing me up essentially, and I would really be feeling that. But as you go, you get more acclimated to it, people get kind of used to what you can bring in. The praise stops. And that wasn't why I quit going, but here's what happened. There was a week where I got really sick, and I had also, maybe not broken my toe, but my toe was like bending this way when it normally didn't before, like outward. I saw that as a reason to take a break, and I did. And it's been 3 weeks since I've gone back, so clearly I need to go back. But I think a lot of the reason that I was going to that class maybe was to feel some type of anything, really, feel like I'm good at something, or oh, like maybe you could be really good at this. But the first little bit of resistance I hit, when I also wasn't receiving an equal level of like validation, the resistance was 1. So I need to build up my resilience in that aspect. Even outside, like obviously I wanted to be really good at it because, you know, I do want to go on street beefs, but I just felt like I wasn't making progress fast enough. And I feel like often people will compare their day 1 to someone else's, like day 5,000. You're going to quit before you even learn the basics. So, you know, your possible opponent has beaten you just solely due to their dedication. Because even if you are a prodigy at something, I still feel like you have to be dedicated to a certain degree. Because yeah, you can maybe be like the average person, but once you get up there, it's going to take more than pure biology or intuition. You do need some kind of experience, because with experience comes confidence. The trap of praise. Yeah, when praise becomes your fuel instead of your purpose, when you're living for the likes and the comments and the good jobs instead of knowing you did a job well done internally. And I mean, this can also, like, in the sense of likes and follows, if there is someone who's getting thousands or even millions of views when they are first putting something out, I think that they're probably going to burn out faster than anyone else, because they're burning super bright. They're getting, that was their like first hit of anything, and maybe this is Coke, but like that was their first hit of anything, was just this massive wave of validation. And I think to some extent you do have to get used to that, especially if like you're going on a run, but there's no like basis to it. You're just going on a run. You're just on a hot streak. You got lucky. People get acclimated to you. Maybe you're not. Maybe you're actually improving, but you know how things go. People get used to something, and it automatically just loses a little bit of its luster. And now you're not receiving as much validation as you were before, as you were used to, as you started with. I feel like this is kind of why, like, being a child actor would be kind of unfortunate. You started at not the very top, but you know, actors are pretty praised. So like, you started pretty far up there, and really, it's most of the time only down from there. You're gonna burn twice as bright, but you might burn out twice as fast. People act like, or no, not people act like, no silence, or silence is worse than not silence, I guess. If you're not hearing anything, that just means that you're a nobody. And that no feedback is going to make you feel like you're a failure. Radio silence seems to be like the worst thing for people who are trying to progress, especially if they tend to quit on themselves. If you tend to quit on yourself and you're not getting anything from anyone, yeah, you're not going to continue to do what you're going to do. Because why? Why would you? You already tend to quit. You clearly need to be motivated by external things, which isn't always a bad thing, but I do think building up your internal motivation can be helpful. Yeah, so if that validation isn't coming in, neither is your output. Like it gets to the point where you need the praise to produce a product. When I feel like if you kind of start by building a solid foundation, getting used to it, and starting to fall in love with the process, not the prospects, then you'll at least always have something to fall back on. You have put the time into your craft, or the dedication into your craft, or anything like that. Like, you have something to, fall back on at the very least. You like doing it, and you learn to do it because you wanted to do it, not because of what you could get from it. That's because when the praise stops, the identity crumbles. The beginner's curse. You are expecting to be great from the start. It is not going to be that way. It is rarely that way, unfortunately, but it's more likely than not you're not going to be great at the start unless you're some kind of freak of nature. But that's the funny thing. There are always going to be other freaks of nature. You get moved up to a higher bracket, and eventually you're going to need to put in that work. Because they're going to be people just as, monsters as you are, except they have put in the time to, perfect their craft. Great. The greatness comes from reps. No one is expecting you to be good right away. You can be a baby. Actually, stop that right there. Funny shit in life, I really just almost quit the video because I felt like I was doing a bad job and I had done good enough up until this point, but no, we not pussy. I gotta keep going anyway. The beginner's curse. people are expecting to be great from the start when no one is expecting you to be great from the start. And I feel like you really just have to be outside of yourself. Have the ability to be outside of yourself. If one of your friends came up to you and they were like, "Oh, I want to start this new hobby. I want to start fighting or working out or going to the gym or running or juggling or whatever," would you expect them to be good on the first day? No. I mean, you wouldn't expect them to be good on the second or third or the fourth day. Things take time unless it's something like easy, you know. But even then, you can take the easiest thing and it can become extremely difficult. It's like running. I, was, I saw a quote and it was the 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 flowing river cuts through a boulder, something like that. Something about persistence. You just need persistence. The river constantly flows, and that's what cuts through the boulder. Um, yeah. Yeah. Nobody's expecting you to be good right away. Um, so, and that is probably why no one will clap for you. Tying it back to the beginning. Um, but yeah, I feel like a lot of the times too, it is the fear of looking like a nobody, like I said. And this is different from the fear of not wanting to fit in that I talked about earlier. I feel like the fear of looking like a nobody can more so tie back to just instead of being like the outcast, you are just a non-factor. Just no one even cares. They see what you have to bring to the table, and they're just simply not impressed, and that can be, you know, disheartening in its own right, of course. But everybody who is or was and will be a somebody was once a nobody. Unless you were born extremely rich and wealthy, then you know that's just hey, you got lucky. But um, yeah, everyone who's a somebody was once a nobody. Don't ever get that flipped. You can turn your life around at any point. Truly. Yeah, most people want to quit when they start to look foolish or because they feel like they look foolish, but that is the price of growth. You have to, you know, really get some humility because when you're starting to something, you're like a baby. You know, you're like a seed. You wouldn't put a seed in the ground and expect it to instantly sprout up into a tree. No, you water it, you give it sunlight, you let it breathe, you take care of it, and it sprouts and it grows and it can become a mighty oak. But you're not going to plant a seed to expect, you know, a yield the next day. You know, it takes time. So treat yourself like a seed. All right, 4. Progress that you cannot see. Still count. Your habits, what you do every day, you know, that really counts. It's like going to the gym. It takes time. It doesn't come all at once, even if you can't see it. You can go to the gym for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks on end. And I know, at least in my experience, you know, I'll go and I'm like, oh, I just don't see any difference. I look the same as I did on the first day. But then that magical moment happens. You see somebody and, you know, maybe they haven't seen you in a week or two. And they say, oh, you're looking big. And I'm like, what? Like, you noticed? Like, am I really looking big? Am I looking handsome and strong? And then you kind of get that, you know, that swag with you. You get that new perspective, but you didn't see it because you see yourself every day and you live with yourself every day, and you know it's working. Just you gotta trust in the process. That is, I love when something clicks for me. It's trust in the process. You need to trust in the process. Trust that even if you can't see it, it's still building. It's like a muscle. Last, keep showing up even without a crowd. Being the title of everything. Um, I think, like I said earlier, you need to prove it to yourself first. Fall in love with the progress, not the prospects. You know, learn to love it, build it, get that muscle. Let it be something you learn to love to do. Because, like I told you, I was really gonna quit this one, but it's like there's really no pressure on it. I'm thinking, oh, this has to be perfect. This is it's gonna be like amazing, but Realistically, you know, it might not get any views. These might not get any views for a long time. I think even recording this and talking about it just made me realize that it's okay. You know, life goes on. You need to prove it to yourself that you are worth it. Yep. I need to prove to myself that I'm worth showing up for. And I feel like oftentimes I'll break my own words to myself, and that's something I need to stop doing. And it's, like I said earlier, it's a direct product of that. I'm gonna keep on going. And hopefully I can look back on this someday and be proud of it. My next bullet point was literally your future self will thank you. Hopefully he does. I had here, imagine a year from now, you stay consistent. You keep doing what you need to do. The crowd comes, the praise arrives. You feel fantastic. Now, imagine a year from now. You don't stay consistent. You're still filled with doubt. You're wanting praise. You start again, except this time, only more time has passed. You need to do it anyway. The crowd shows up after the transformation. Or you start again from square one. Same dream, same regret, only difference kind of keeps flowing. See y'all on the next one.